Welcome Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. Fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, I'm Pickle, and with me as always, Blackburn.
What up?
Out this week, Trimboli. So he's not the hit this week. He's got some personal matters he's dealing with. Nothing major, just out for the week, unfortunately.
No meatballs this week.
No meatballs of the week, unfortunately, so we'll have to tune in for that for the week, 11 meatball. No, it'll be meatballs for week 10 now, I guess.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so week 9 in the books. So in this episode, we'll be getting into the general news, the injuries, some trades. No, trades didn't happen. It was more signings, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And then the Thursday night game, which should be actually a good one with the Carolina Panthers and the Steelers. So
I think it's going to be probably the best game on the slate this week, to be honest.
It should be. I mean, when you go into, as we get into, obviously, next episode when we go and do that, you'll see the matchups really are not any great games. This is probably, like you said, the best game of the week. So, unfortunately, it's got to be a Thursday game, and then you got to have to wait till Sunday and enjoy not so great games. So, anyways, but... All right, let's go ahead. Make sure you follow the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. And now let's get into fantasy news and notes.
Fantasy news and notes.
All right, fantasy news and notes presented by Body Armor Super Drink, superior hydration for today's athlete. Drink them out. Check them out at drinkbodyarmor.com or your local convenience store.
Strawberry banana's legit.
Yeah, I like that. This orange octagon one's not bad for a new flavor. We've only had, I think, like 1 or 2 of these so far, but the big one out the gate, Dez Bryant officially ends up signing. He'll officially sign the deal for the later on Thursday, but
yeah, going to the Saints, that's a huge pickup.
Yeah, that's a big one for Dez as well as the Saints because it's what he wants. He gets to go to a legit high-powered offense who's going to make a playoff push and potentially Super Bowl push, and he doesn't have to be the guy.
No, Michael Thomas is the guy. Dez can take pressure off and get that run game still going with Kamara and Ingram. That's a deadly offense.
Right. I think they just made this offense, if it's possible, better than it already was. So, and I also think that this, unfortunately, I think this speaks to the fact that Cameron Meredith has really never picked up like they thought he was going to. And Traquan Smith is good. He's just young. So
right. This deal is only for the rest of this season. Right.
It's a 1-year show me kind of deal, which is what he's wanted. And I think to me, this puts Dez in the best possible situation going forward. It does still roll the dice, unfortunately for him, because he does go to a prolific passer and an accurate passer. So if Dez is still dropping the ball or playing poor,
it's on him after that.
There's no excuse. He can't blame a lesser quarterback or a lesser offense. This offense has been humming all year, no problem.
Yep.
Even in the week 1 when they lost, they were still moving the ball. It's just the defense wasn't doing well. So if he comes in and he struggles, which I'm not saying that he's gonna light up the scoreboard week 1. He may not. He may do something like Amari Cooper did last week, where he just kind of comes in and they got certain packages to throw him the ball in certain formations.
Yeah, well, it's like you said. He's not going to be the star. He's not going to be the number 1. He's a complimentary player. He's going to be a role player.
Right. I'm looking at maybe 3 to 5 receptions, maybe probably about 6 to 7 targets total. But I think that's on the high side.
Maybe a red zone look.
I was going to say red zone was more so where I think Dez is going to be
think about that for
ideal.
a second. You got Michael Thomas on this side. You could put Dez on this side.
And that Traquan in the slot.
Or Kamara work in the middle. Or Ingram right up. It don't matter. They got options now.
Right. So I think it's the best case scenario for Dez, obviously, going forward. They did end up trying out Brandon Marshall and I think it was Kamari Aiken or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, but Dez had his own private workout and ended up, obviously, it worked out for him. It's a good situation for both teams. I think the Saints aren't in really a whole lot of capital putting into him investment-wise, but they've got a high-powered, in my opinion, a guy who's got a lot to prove. And the biggest part of this is they played Dallas, I think, week 13.
29th. Yep.
So on a Thursday night. So
I just like it for both sides. It gives Dez a chance to come out and show what he can do, maybe for another team next year or even the Saints. And it provides insurance in case Michael Thomas was to go down or Traquan Smith or whatever.
right. And Dez is a guy who's been in the limelight. He understands
Right,
under
he
the
knows.
pressure, and he's not going to fold like a younger guy might coming into this situation. So
Good deal.
49ers waived Tom Savage. Sorry for your loss, Tom. And then they ended up bringing him back.
Yeah, that's because that running back, Mostert.
Roser ended up breaking his arm
Yeah, so they cut Savage when,
before the game last week.
Right, and then Mullins came out, showed out.
Yeah.
What's his name? Mostert.
Raheem Mostert broke his arm.
Broke his arm, so they bring Tom Savage back.
There you go. So, but Nick Mullins, I mean, I know it was kind of like it was the
Raiders.
The
It was
stars.
the Raiders.
It was the Raiders. The stars were aligning for him. The kid was out of nowhere.
He looked good.
He did. Even if against a bad defense, he still was making good decisions. He wasn't making like forced throws. He was still making good throws. There were a few.
That George Kittle one-hand catch, though, like that was lucky.
It was.
But he caught it, and like the defenders hit each other, and then George Kittle was up the field for like 70-some yards.
Yeah. So, and it ended up Nick Mullins being a nice young guy decided to gift Kittle the following play a touchdown after he just ran 70 yards down the field instead of throwing it to a wide receiver and saying, "Hey, thanks for getting us down the field, but I'm gonna go here and throw it to Garcon or somebody." So,
Which Garcon played well. I'm just saying, you're right. It's Oakland defense, but we'll see this Monday night. I think it's Giants and 49ers.
yeah, and the I should say 49ers. The Giants defense is still iffy.
It's better than the Raiders.
It is.
So
I mean,
that pass rush is Olivier Vernon and company's no joke.
No, so hopefully I'm hoping for his sake he still does really well. But the Cardinals end up releasing QB Sam Bradford, so paid him $13.5 million for essentially 3 weeks of play.
I want that job.
I want to know who his agent is because I saw a statistic about how much money he has made playing. I don't even think he's played like a full 2 seasons like total.
Well, this year he signed it was 1 year, $20 million, but 13.5 was guaranteed, and the rest was incentive based.
Yeah, well,
so he got 13.5 million for essentially 3 weeks of playing time, which he was absolute
trash,
hot garbage. Yeah.
Right. Yes, he was. That offense in general was bad. So
but you're right. I mean, over the course of his career, I mean, he's
lived
millions because he when he got drafted by the Rams, he was in that. Remember, each quarterback every year was up in the ante. Him and Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
he was one of the last quarterbacks to get without the rookie wage scale. So he made a ton of money for no production.
Kudos to him and his agent. So. This one shouldn't be a shock, but Lions ended up cutting running back Amir Abdullah and signing wide receiver Bruce Ellington. Amir Abdullah kind of just faded into the background when they got Kerryon Johnson, and you thought that he was going to be okay, and that Theo Riddick was kind of be the guy that got kicked to the side. But Theo Riddick actually has done well. So
Amir Abdullah got signed today, actually, by Minnesota Vikings, which is kind of intriguing.
Does that mean that they're still not 100% sold on Dalvin Cook being 100%?
I don't know.
I mean, Latavius Murray's been balling out by himself, so
and then you had Ham and the other
Boone.
Yeah, Boone. So, I mean, why would you sign Amir Abdullah all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, you're not really losing it. Maybe they bring him in on special teams, I guess. I don't know, but you're really not investing a whole lot in Amir Abdullah at this point, so it's not a bad situation to be in. As we said, that Brandon Marshall visited the Lions on Monday. Ended up with no deal. He also visited the Saints on Tuesday.
Still no deal.
Still no deal. So Brandon Marshall's still out there trying to get a job, but honestly, I think at this point he's done enough. He's had a pretty good career overall. You don't want to continue to make your career look bad with playing poorly.
I just think he has a little bit left in the tank. He needs to go to a contending team,
right?
Kind of like what Dez did,
right? Find the right situation, but overall, I think that he's still got. To me, he's really good when he does like the I forget what show it is that he does. I think it's for like HBO or whatever when he does like the sports talk or whatever.
The Inside the NFL.
Yeah, he does a good job with that. So I mean, I think he's got a career in the like TV stuff or radio stuff.
He just wants to play, man.
I think he still wants to go out there and play while he's able to. So, but now ex-Titan and Cardinal running back Chris CJ2K Johnson officially retires after 11 seasons, which is kind of crazy to think he played for that long.
I was saying that the other night to Thacker when we were talking. I was like, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't seem like it was that long.
I mean, the guy prior to John Ross held the fastest time for how long for overall?
Yeah,
for a 40 time. So that was the one thing for him. He was electric on the field. I mean, he kind of, I hate to say it, but he was kind of like the Kamara before Kamara, if that makes sense. Like, he was that electric kind of like back that could do the dirty work of like being a bruiser back, but also had the speed and the pass catching ability.
Yeah, he wasn't even a high draft. I don't think he was a high draft pick either.
I don't remember exactly where he was at, but still, either way, I mean, unfortunately, during that time frame, they didn't have the offensive styles that they do now, where they get the running back more involved in the passing game, where they want a running back that can do both. He just was ahead of his time.
Yep, him and Jamal Charles were setting the pace at that time.
So, but congrats to him. Hopefully, he enjoys his retirement and finds something else to keep himself occupied. So, and then this one, Bruce Arians states that he would, in quote, consider coaching the Browns.
That's the only team he would consider coaching is Cleveland.
Man,
it's kind of, I mean,
it's not bad. I mean, he's not a bad coach. I mean,
you look what he did at was it Arizona? Yeah, Arizona with Palmer and David Johnson.
Right.
You bring him in with Baker Mayfield and Chubb, and they got some young talent there.
I mean, they got good talent across the board. They just got to get somebody, head coach wise as well as offensive coordinator wise, that can get these guys going in the right direction. Because you can have the best talented team across the board and still fall short because your coaching staff is horrible. On the flip side, you can have a really good coach who takes misfits like the Patriots outside of Tom Brady and finds a way to win Super Bowls.
Well, that's a great coach.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Then you've got great coaches who can take misfits like Belichick does and make them something. So, but I mean, I wouldn't be, if I was a Browns fan or a fan of the Browns team, I would not be against Bruce Arians coming in and being the head coach.
I would welcome that wholeheartedly.
Yes. So I'm just saying that's something to keep an eye on. But all right, let's get into this week's injury report with the Hurt Locker.
My shoulder doesn't hurt very much, but my face does. Right here. Not here or here so much, but right here.
Nope. Ship shape.
All right, this week's injury report, the Hurt Locker. You got Colts running back Marlon Mack dealing with an undisclosed injury. He's kind of day-to-day. They said that he's taking a general day off, is what I was told. Nothing serious. It's just to kind of give him an extra day of rest, which is fine.
Well, he had that. They said he was going into last week's game with the ankle injury.
Right.
He blew up for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He is this is the guy that we told you to draft. I know that he kind of limped through the first couple weeks of the season, that you kind of had to decide to stash him or not. But if you stashed him, you held on to him, you're reaping the benefits at this point.
The last 2 weeks, he's averaging 31 points in PPR.
Yeah, that's what you drafted him for. I mean, you were drafting him probably around the 5th or 6th round. So why? Just saying. I know that for the first couple weeks it was bad because he wasn't playing, but now that he's back, he has been lighting it up. So now this one's kind of concerning. Bengals wide receiver A.J. Green dealing with a toe injury. He did see that Dr. James Andrews, which is a legit doctor who all the big-time guys go to, as well as guys who know that they may have big injuries because they want the best medical expertise to take a look at the injury. Says he does not need a surgery at this point. They're going to say 2 to 4 weeks, and then they're going to reevaluate him and see at that point if it's progressing, healing without surgery, and if he's even able to come back at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So if you are an A.J. Green owner, I know that it might be kind of like a bad situation to be in, and unfortunately probably at this point all of your league mates also know that A.J. Green's going to be out for 2 to 4 weeks and potentially the rest of the season. You're kind of, unfortunately, you're sitting in it. You're going to have to hold on to him. You're not going to be able to move him and trade him or anything at this point.
I mean, you could trade him, but you're not going to get
anything worthwhile.
Right. I mean, it's not going to be nothing. So.
I mean, you're banking that he's out 2 to 4 weeks, and then he's back right before the fantasy playoffs, and you get him for the whole fantasy playoffs. However, if you stash him, keep him on your bench for the next 2 to 4 weeks, and they reevaluate him and say, hey, he's out, he's done, or the Bengals aren't even in real playoff contention, they may just shut him down for the year and say, hey, it's not worth it on our end, which then unfortunately you're kind of stuck. So
he's probably not available, but if you go out and get Tyler Boyd,
make a move for him.
If
you got depth at running back, you got like depth-wise, your running back group is really good, and you can move one of your running back, not your main guy like a Kamara or something, but maybe like a second-tier guy like a Marlon Mack if you've got a couple running backs, and move him, get a Tyler Boyd, something to get somebody back, because you're going to have to sit A.J. Green for a month. That's not up to a month, which is not good.
No, at least half a month, 2 to 4 weeks.
And you're hitting, I mean, we're at week 10? So most playoffs start week 14 to 15.
Right.
So by the time you get him back, if he comes back, you're looking at the first week of the playoffs potentially, or the last week of the regular season, depending on how your league is. Not a good situation, but now Redskins wide receiver Paul Richardson, shoulder and a knee injury, season-ending IR.
Yeah, he's having surgery on his shoulder.
Not a good situation, but
Maurice Harris.
He might be one to pick up if he's on your waivers, because he's going to be a focal point going forward with that offense.
10 receptions for 146 yards last week.
Yeah, he's doing really well.
Alex Smith favors him.
Right,
he's a big target. He's 6'4".
Right, so I mean, if you're the A.J. Green owner and you can't get Tyler Boyd through a trade, maybe make a move and pick up Maurice Harris if he's on your waivers at this point still. Now, Packers wide receiver Geronimo Allison dealing with a core muscle injury. Is going to have surgery, and he's season-ending IR. So hopefully, if you haven't already, you could go get him. But Marquez Valdez-Scantling, the guy we had on our show a couple weeks ago, he's been the guy when Allison's not been in there.
Yeah, he's been balling out.
Right. So he's continued to see more volume than Randall Cobb when Cobb's in. He was fighting Allison for the targets, but now the targets with Allison are gone. I mean, I think he's the guy to go get if you have the opportunity. Another guy potentially you could go get if he's on waivers. If not, he's another guy you might make a move for. Then you might not have to give up so much capital or value with player wise to get this guy. So I'm just saying it's not a bad situation, and he's on an offense that's going to throw the ball.
Yeah, Rodgers has been favoring obviously Devontae, but Valdez-Scantling. I mean, he's getting 5-6 looks a game.
Right,
and they're deep throws.
Right. So I mean, if you're able to get, if he gets 3 to 4 receptions a game, and he's getting every one of them somewhere between 15 to 30 yards, that adds up pretty quickly.
Sure.
And on the reception part of it as well in PPR, and if one of them goes for a touchdown, that makes it even better.
Right, he's getting you essentially 12 to 22, 23 points a game.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad for flex play specifically. So, all right, that's all we got for that. Let's get into the final segment of today since we don't have the Trimboli's Meatball of the Week. We're going to get into the Thursday Night Primer presented by Fantasy Fateball.
This is the Thursday Night Primer.
All right, the Thursday Night Primer presented by Fantasy Fateball, the one and only Magic 8-Ball for fantasy football. 20 custom answers to help you make those critical start-sit decisions in the Sunday morning agony. Head over to fantasyfateball.com. Use promo code HATEFUL8 for $5 off your purchase. All right, Carolina at Pittsburgh, Thursday night. Probably going to be a cold one. Going to be an interesting game. I think that you got two good offenses coming into Pittsburgh, obviously, to play. And the defenses they're middle of the road. Like, they've had good games, and they've had games. So I think that offensively, I think it's going to come down to me at least, I think it's going to come down to which defense steps up.
Yeah, I was going to say, whoever has 1 or 2 turnovers is going to. It could be a shootout.
Well, that's what I'm thinking as well. When I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, all the players offensively are really good to play in this game. It's just you're concerned about the defense. Is the Panthers' defense going to step up against Pittsburgh? Is Pittsburgh's defense going to step up against Carolina? Because we've seen both when they play a defense that kind of gets pressure on the quarterback being struggling. I mean, Carolina struggled against Washington, who had good pass rush and kind of kept CMC bottled up, as well as Pittsburgh we've seen with Baltimore and some of these other defenses, Cleveland, and kind of those gritty defenses that get pressure in your face. Those guys offensively are struggling. That's when the offense struggles. But overall, both these teams are doing really well. So you had the good in this one. So who is your good in this one?
My good is tight end Greg Olsen. He's averaging 13 points per game since his return, and Pittsburgh's 27th against tight end, so they're bottom at the barrel. But Cam's been throwing in a lot. I know he starts off slow, in almost every game. Like, you look in halftime, beginning of the third quarter, he's only getting you like 10 to 12 points. And then next thing you know, by the end of the game, he's got you 28 to 30. Greg Olson's a big part of that.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And I was looking because I had a feeling you might pick this guy because I looked at the matchups across the board. And I'm like, really the best matchup for Carolina is the tight end position. Pittsburgh is giving up 18.2 fantasy in PPR point scoring. They're giving up 18.2 fantasy points on average a week to the tight end position. So
yeah,
that's the one, the gape or the gap, or I guess the gaping hole or the gap that you got with that Pittsburgh defense is they let the tight ends run free. And Olsen is very much a big target in the middle, short yardage, as well as, like you said, in the red zone.
And he's gaining Cam's trust again.
Right. I mean, Funchess and him seem to be the only two guys.
That's it.
I mean, in the passing game, outside of like running CMC, but
yeah.
I mean, DJ Moore's really. I mean, he's had hot and cold games.
Yeah, inconsistent.
And Wright's kind of been up and down. I mean, most of the guys not named Funchess or Olsen have been not really worthwhile in the passing game.
Had a Curtis Samuel sighting this weekend.
Decided to show up, blew up. Nobody picked that one, so thanks for that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a really good matchup if you're looking for a good tight end for this week. And it's a Thursday night game. Defenses, the defenses aren't always on point, even good defenses, because it's a short week and they don't have as much film and
preparation time.
Right, so not a bad situation to be in. Now, for me, I put the bad for this one. Now, I'm not saying not to play him. I'm just saying to kind of pump the brakes and not expect a whole lot out of him. He may blow up, but and that'd be great if he did because I've got him, and I'm hopefully and he's going to play this week. So, but I'm also not expecting like his normal 20 to 25 fantasy points this week in the PPR setting. So, but yeah, Christian McCaffrey, the bad for me. I've got it running back PPR for Pittsburgh. They're giving up 19 fantasy points, which doesn't sound horrible. However, that's to the running back position as a whole. So that now, obviously, Run CMC is going to be the main guy in that game, but they're 7th against running backs, which is not bad for the defense. However, for Christian McCaffrey, who has struggled against really good defenses against the run, like Washington, you've seen his point total kind of dip down into that 15-16 range, which is kind of what I'm banking on. I'm figuring him to have somewhere around 15 to 17, maybe 18 points. Now, if he blows up for 20, 25, great, but my expectations, I'm expecting somewhere around that 15 to 16 fantasy points this week, honestly. So,
which is decent, but it's not CMC-esque.
No, that's the biggest thing. So that's why I'm saying when I put bad, I'm not saying sit him. Please don't do that. I'm just saying expect him to not get the 20-plus fantasy points.
Right. Just
he may.
Pump your brakes on the expectations.
Right. And make sure you put him in your RB1 or RB2 spot because it's a Thursday night game and you don't want to get stuck with him in your flex spot.
Yep.
So, obviously with Greg Olsen, you can't do that. But, and then
I would live with Greg Olsen in my tight end spot.
Yes, very much so, especially in this game. Now, the ugly, I ended up putting down Devin Funchess.
I agree with you. That's why I didn't put him.
Okay, yeah, I see that. So, the biggest thing for me, I was looking at it also 7th against wide receivers. They're giving up 33 fantasy points total to the position. Now, mind you, Curtis Samuel could show up. DJ Moore could show up. Yeah. And Devin Funchess could show up. So, I mean, even if you give Funchess, we'll say 15 fantasy points, you're probably playing him as your wide receiver 2, which is not bad, but in a PPR setting, you kind of want you want closer to that 20 fantasy points. But, I mean, ultimately, he may only get 3 or 4 receptions and like 40 yards.
Well, I mean, outside of CMC, he leads the team in receptions and targets.
Right. So, but if he doesn't get a touchdown, he doesn't typically get a whole lot of yards. His is all touchdown with receptions. So, to me, red zone opportunities is key for him. But in the red zone, they've also got a guy who's got favorable matchups like Olsen. So, my banking is that Pittsburgh's best corner is probably going to be on Devin Funchess all game.
I don't care. Funchess is 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
He can out-jump you. Big target for Cam. I like Funchess in this one.
Yeah, he's the ugly for us in this one. And the expectations, he may blow up. He may get you 20, 25 fantasy points, but he also might only get you 15, 16. So just know that your expectation, the high and the low, could be good for you if he goes off. But obviously his floor to me is somewhere around 13 to 15 fantasy points, which is not bad, but it's not great if you're wanting a lot of upside. So, but it is what it is. I was going to say, to me, the one that I was looking at matchup-wise, Pittsburgh is top 15 I think they're 13th. Yeah, 13th against quarterbacks, so they're only giving up 17 fantasy points to quarterbacks. And then, like I said, the key point is a tight end. Now, on the flip side, Pittsburgh, they're giving up, or Carolina's giving up 18 fantasy points a game to the quarterback, so Big Ben could be in for a decent-sized game. I almost put James Conner as the bad in this one because Carolina is second against the run game. They're only giving up 16 fantasy points average, which is not a great situation to be in. But James Conner is seeming to exceed expectations every week, so that's why I did not put him in the bad. Matchup-wise, it's not good at all, but he seems to be considering. I mean, he just continually exceeds expectations, and with Le'Veon Bell potentially being back and not back, and is he showing up this week? It's not fazed him one bit.
No, the whole team in general has closed the door basically on that noise, and they're saying we're moving forward with Conner, and they should.
Right, and they asked James Conner in a press conference post-game, I forget which game it was, and they said, so when we get later in the season, are you going to be able to withstand 30-some touches a game? And he said, and I mean, I don't know the exact wording, but basically he said, this is what I'm built for. This is what I'm here for. This is what my job is. This is what I'm going to do. So if they hand the ball over to me that many times, I'm going to run it with that many times.
Hey,
so
and he's doing very well.
He pretty much, I mean, outside of the fact of Le'Veon Bell Instagramming and tweeting out that he's leaving Miami and that there was pictures have surfaced of him at like a Anytime Fitness or something like that.
LA Fitness in the Pittsburgh area. Yeah, I mean.
And I know he's going to be at this weekend's Ohio State, Michigan State game. So, I mean.
Go Buckeyes.
Right. I'm just saying, to me, it doesn't sound like he's that serious in coming back. We talked about this all fair. I think ultimately, even if you are a Bell owner at this point, unless it's a keeper league where you can keep him for 2019, he's kind of
dead space.
Right. He's just kind of, and now if you don't, if you have like an IR or an injury or like a suspension spot on your roster, then you've probably had him on that all year. However, if you didn't and you've held him this long, you're kind of like, oh, I've already held him this long. I might as well keep him for the rest of the season.
And you basically missed your window for a trade.
This is also true.
So that should have been, we talked about it 2 or 3 shows ago.
Right.
2 or 3 weeks ago. If you were going to trade Bell, you should have already done it.
Right. Before the actual NFL trade deadline ended, that was the time approaching because there was a lot of talks and a lot of movement potentially of him going somewhere else. So that was when the high was the high.
Right. Now you're not going to get nothing at all.
Right. I mean, nobody's going to give you a whole lot of anything at this point, unfortunately. So
Unless your name's Ramsey.
This is also true. Jeez. Anyway, shout out to him. Anyways, so that's all we got for today's show. We just want to tell you guys thanks again for tuning in to today's show, whether it's the podcast or the YouTube channel. If you're on the YouTube channel and you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get notified.
It.
And there's a bell button, I think, notifies you as well. Not a Le'Veon bell, but a bell. It actually works.
Yeah, this bell actually shows up.
Right. So please check out our site, thehateful8ff.com, where you can find out our weekly in-season articles. And don't forget to check out this store as well. Follow our personal accounts at jpickleth8ff, at jblackburnth8ff, and at ftrimth8ff. Don't forget to join the average donation and support the show via the Patreon tab on the site, where you can get your in-season weekly help on a more specific basis to your league. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Yep. We'll see you guys for the Week 10 episode.
One more time. There ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful Eight. He's a chump finishing last.